and says that a leak from a Wuhan lab, which was considered to be extremely unlikely pathway. So all those theories, they're debunking based on their investigation or preliminary investigations. There was a 124-page report, and it notes that animals in livestock farms in Southeast Asia could be linked to early human cases, adding that further study is needed. It also says that no evidence suggests that the virus was spreading any earlier than the very end of 2019. The World Health Organization investigators also said that the most likely original source is an intermediate animal host, possibly a wild animal captured and then raised on a farm. The investigation has not found what other animal was infected by a bat, considered the most likely source of the virus. That animal is believed to have transmitted the virus to a human. So that's the preliminary report. The investigation continues, but at the moment they're suggesting that the idea for Wuhan lab is way down the line in terms of possibility. All right, so we will continue to follow that story and see where that leads in the future as they continue to investigate that. Here at home, the representative for constituency number 8, the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, will be in the constituency tomorrow for one-on-one meetings. He's in Keon constituency office from 9:30 a.m. to 12 noon, and he's in Connery Community Center from 3 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. That's tomorrow, Wednesday, in Keon from 9:30 a.m., Connery from 3 p.m. All right, so that's what's happening in the news around the world and locally today. All right, this morning we continue our Easy Week to talk about youth and youth development and youth policy and youth engagement, youth activity. When we talk about youth policy, we are, in effect, looking at an idea, or it is purposed on creating conditions for learning, opportunity, and experience, which enable young people to develop knowledge, skills, and competencies. This allows young people to be actors in our democracy, integrate into society, and in particular play an active role in both civil society and the labor market. The key measures of youth policies are to promote citizenship or citizenship learning and integrated policy approach. Today we will spend some time in a conversation about youth activities here in St. Kitts and Nevis and some of the positive things that are happening and the people who are guiding them. The role and impact of social media, for example, on youth, and how much it is ingrained and how much it can be used for good, even though, of course, there is bad. But we will talk about a number of things youth-related this morning. To help me with that, I have in studio some guests, and we're going to have a conversation with these two individuals. They are people who are providing guidance and help to some of these young people in the Federation. I have Mr. Pierre Liebert, who is Director of Youth here on St. Kitts, and he's also joined by Nadia Mills, Director of Food for Creative Souls. Good to have you both in studio, and thank you for giving us this opportunity to hear from you about what is happening in St. Kitts and Nevis with respect to our youth and their engagement and their activities. I'll begin this way by allowing each of you to just tell me something about you and your background and what you're doing, so that the audience will have some idea of who we're hearing from this morning. If we can begin with Nadia. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, firstly, thank you so much for having us here. My name is Nadia Mills. I grew up here in St. Kitts in Sandy Point, went away to study graphic design, and then went off to portfolio school and did a program in art direction. Had the opportunity to work in a couple of creative agencies such as Ogilvy, BBDO, and Bright House, which is a part of the Boston Consulting Company. And I would have learned a lot in the agency and saw the impact of ideas and creativity. And I kind of realized that what they were seeking or searching for, the ideas that they were looking to produce, St. Kitts had a lot of my theory was that St. Kitts had a lot of the qualities that would fit into what the agencies were looking for. So I came back home and started the boot camps called Food for Creative Souls, hoping to, speed up the process of getting persons into the creative fields and making a global impact.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Leiber.
Morning, sir. Good morning to the listening audience. My name is Pierre Leiber. I also grew up in St. Kitts, Sandy Point, coincidentally. And I would have spent most of my adult life working in youth development at the Department of Youth Empowerment. In my spare time, when I do manage to get some, I'm also a creative, paint and produce artwork. And ultimately, we are responsible for creating an enabling environment to ensure the holistic growth and development and integration of young persons into development and development considerations across St. Kitts and Nevis, and exposing them to opportunities to develop self and be able to contribute to the development of the country. You started off discussing policy. That is a major part of our work. Having passed the federal youth policy in 2017 and facilitating integration of youth consideration in decision-making processes and progressing youth mainstreaming, which is to consider the impact, implications, and opportunities and so forth for young persons in every aspect of decision-making across the governance structure of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Okay. All right. Let me go this way though. A lot of times when we talk about youth and youth involvement in the country, there is a lot of negative feedback. I don't know why that is. I'm sure you may have some theory, but a lot of times we ignore the fact that there's a lot of positive things that are happening and could happen, and ignore our role when it comes to guiding and shaping young people. Let's talk about some of the things that you are engaging specifically in terms of the policy and the youth. Some of the areas you're involved in from your office.
Whew.
Not too many.
Okay. Well, those that stand out and in the public knowledge are the 25 Most Remarkable Teens program,
Okay.
which actually is open for nominations as we speak. And forms are available at all of the high schools across St. Kitts and Nevis. We manage that program in partnership with the Department of Youth on Nevis. Mm-hmm. And it engages the public and encourages every single Jackmo, Salmon, Bagay, everybody to pay keen attention to the young people surrounding them in your communities, in your sporting club, that come into your supermarket, in your classroom, every young person, and consider their good qualities, and look at the ones that you deem or consider worthy of emulation and recognition, and nominate them for the recognition and the award, and to be a part of the program for the 12 months following their receipt of the award in November. And they are taken through capacity building training, improving on their leadership skills, and prepare them to identify and deliver interventions in the community that they execute following their their nomination and receipt of their award. So it's a full year-long program, not just anybody get an award, have nice pictures, and it's that. But ultimately it is designed to celebrate youth excellence, which is one of the aspects, one of the pillars of the policy, and to facilitate their growth and development and contribution as valuable assets to society.
Let me stay with you for a minute, Mr. Labbit. What are some of the challenges that you face when dealing with young people?
Their parents.
Okay. All right, that's major for you.
That is a major challenge, to tell you the truth. The parents.
They're not readily on board, or
not always, and they tend to be too willing to fight you and to challenge what you're hoping to achieve and challenge the partnership and to be present. Other than that, I mean, we hear it often, young people this and they that, and they got problems and they're misguided. But I find them feel easy to deal with, one-on-one. That's all it really takes, one-on-one. Sometimes some present you more of a difficult challenge, so you strategize around that.
Right.
But the major issue for us has been the parents.
Okay.
And their partnership in addressing the issues and actually engaging and following up with young people.
Okay.
Outside of that, I don't think anything else is major.
Anything else is major? That's good to hear. At least you can pinpoint where you have the challenges and work with finding a solution.
Yeah, we could deal with the focus. We could deal with the issues of nonchalant attitude, the hormones, the aggression, the lackluster behavior, the negligence. All of that is expected, and we could deal with it. We could work with it. Parents.
Okay. Ms. Mills.
That was one, by the way. That was one, by the way.
That was one. Okay. Well, I'll hold on to that one. I'm sure we'll get to more of those later on. But it seems to me that is the most challenging for you. So, but we will get to it.
Okay.
We'll expand on that some more. I want to get Nadia Mills in here. You are working with the office. I take it collaborating on creative stuff. Talk to me about your experience with the young people and how easy or how difficult that is, and what you're working on now.
Right. So Pierre brought me in to work with the youth media group, and their students ages 17 to around 29. And for the past 3 months, we've been working on executing 3 projects for the youth department, which is a poster on COVID-19, an environmental video, and then they should be launching a talk show really soon, which is pretty exciting. Some of the students have had them before in the first boot camp I did in 2019, so it was really great that a lot of them liked what they learned there and decided to come back, and they were still very excited to learn more. But I find the kids, they all have their unique personalities, right? And I love the blend of personalities. And the thing is, I put them in teams, in groups of 3. And just watching their dynamics and how they interacted with each other and figured out each other and then eventually got closer in the end, to me, I love to see that. As far as introducing them to the different creative careers, my boot camp is a little bit unique where I tend to bring in some of my connections in the U.S. So Food for Creative Souls is all about building a bridge between the established creative industry and young minds who have no idea how these ads get made or how, all these stuff that they absorb on social media are created. So now these students are meeting the exact minds that are creating the ads that they're seeing on TV. We've had a lot of great mentors like Russell Dodson, who does a lot of work with Burger King, Heinz. We had Carlin Webb, who's an executive producer, won an Emmy. We've had a lot of great people. a lot of great people. So I think the students, just by meeting the mentors and seeing a connection between, oh, I saw this ad, it went viral, and now I'm talking to a person that I could pick his mind about how he did it. I think that kind of woke them up a little bit to how powerful an idea is, and it got them a little bit excited. So they're learning a lot. They're learning about the different creative fields like strategy. I know when I went away to school, I didn't realize how valuable strategy was, but I was naturally good at it based on what my teachers were saying. And I kind of credit the island. My theory is that it's because we live in a remote and restricted space is why we're a lot more strategic or resourceful. And I wanted to test that theory with the students, and I'm happy to say that that theory is correct because the students can strategize naturally. So that's something that I identified among the students.
Do you find it challenging working with because young people, well, all people have different personalities.
Yeah.
But it's I would say it's more pronounced when you're at a certain age, and aptitude. Do you get sometimes that in your field, in the creative arts and so on, what happens if you don't recognize or don't have a person or a young person with that particular aptitude, interest? You get some of that sometimes?
Of course, but the thing is, it's all about energy, right? So in the very first boot camp class, I made them draw a tree. So my thing about art is we don't look at what's visually on the board, but we look at the energy of what's on the board. So for me, I guess I just developed that skill where I made all the students draw a tree, and I looked at the tree and I kind of told them about themselves just by looking at the tree. So it was really like, for a first introduction to myself, and for me meeting the students, it was kind of like, I understand you just by looking at this tree. And I think that helped a lot in creating a bond that I have with the students now, because I look at them and I go, I don't want you to be who you're not, like I value all of you and who you are, so we've had like one student who was really, really quiet in the beginning, like this super serious face, didn't talk, and the way that she blossomed at the end of the boot camp and her personality just shine. I don't know, I just love seeing that process. The students.
I know. I take it that as you guys guide and mold these young people and work with these young people, there is a goal in mind. There is possibly business venture opportunities for them. How supportive are you getting support from the rest of society, business community, etc.?
Well, it is the wider ecosystem, I would say, still, and the negotiations and partnerships are still in the embryonic stage. Right now, the focus has been getting the young persons who has demonstrated an interest, expressed an interest in first of all, working in media with the Department of Youth Empowerment and taking advantage of opportunities in the creative industry through the partnership with Ms. Mills. So we have been engaged with a few media houses to support the effort, and those conversations are ongoing. I can't say that we've tossed a wide net. This might be, if I'm allowed, an opportunity to take advantage of this wide net and encourage those listening and in the private industry in supporting an initiative such as this. Feel free to contact us.
I somewhere along the line I heard mention of a talk show. Is that using one of our local broadcast media, or is it just internet podcast? Or
we're getting innovative and using the tools that social media affords us now. So it's going to be a live stream show.
Yeah, we use it. We
I only ask because I'm looking at the competition. So
Yeah, we are acting within our means.
Right.
And for now, and so we're in a position to live stream ourselves and use the social media platform, which, by the way, through our research, the young people indicated is one of the ways that they get and consume information most readily through social media. So we're pursuing that. And you did ask two questions that I'd like to refer to. In terms of the capacities, the competencies, the aptitude of our young persons, and the support of society. In my observation, it could be better.
Okay.
The young persons are far too timid. They question themselves too often, and there is way too much doubt in their own ability and potential. Not just their existing ability to succeed or to create something of value, but doubting their ability to get to a point where they feel comfortable creating something of value. And I think that stems from our exceedingly proficient and effective ability as a society to downplay, to discourage, to discredit, to instill in each other's minds that we are not good enough, that we can't, and that you shouldn't necessarily aspire to just seek to do what is already being done. I don't know if you understand, if I'm making it clear on my too.
I got you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We don't support. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's a good point, because I've done this boot camps with ages as young as 8 years old all the way up to 29, and what's especially scary to me is when you have 8-year-olds expressing those kind of qualities that Mr. Liebert was talking about, you know, like this timidness, this lack of confidence when they're supposed to be the most creative. And it's scary for me because I would like to explore why is that happening. A child that is supposed to be filled with imagination is mimicking and not, you know, expressing fully, if you know what I mean.
Quick to laugh and quick to say that doesn't look good, and we take it as sport. Well, a child internalizes that and believes that they're not good enough. You see it on every single Queen show or talent show, and it stuck to me that when I have to hear the hosts of the show say, "Remember, these are young people. It's not easy being up on stage. If they make a mistake, don't laugh." To have to tell a society that, to me, is scary and concerning and depressing. We're very quick to laugh and to point finger and scorn when people get the courage to actually try something that most of us wouldn't even try, and right in front of them, as they're trying, their nerves on the edge, they make a simple slip up, you laugh at them, you cut that child off.
Yeah.
So you'll never see the full potential if that sort of thing is allowed to persist. We need to stop it.
There's a lot of advertising around, and in line with some of what you're saying, and people feeling inadequate or like they can't, so they're getting that kind of feedback from external sources. That can be tough, but in terms of creating, doing production, you're going to need the support of businesses.
I agree.
The question is, have you found that, well, maybe not yet, but have you found that businesses are receptive to giving an opportunity to our youngsters here locally, if they need an ad, for example, something on social media, or they're just inclined to stick with something that came from Trinidad or someplace else? How has that been for you, or have you approached that yet?
I haven't necessarily approached it with a scientific analysis, but in my limited observation, I can say it's not a one-size-fits-all. I think there is a mix of all. And some businesses would take a chance and give a young person a chance. I find a lot of the newer businesses tend to do that. Whereas other businesses don't feel comfortable and wish to go with more established brands and companies, whereas there are some companies that have to, I imagine, based on their structure, go with regional productions.
Right, depending on, what about when you guys are developing these policies? I would want to think that the schools are very much involved, since I noticed you mentioned 8-year-old on up and working with up to 29. So I imagine that you're getting some support from the education system.
Yes, we partner with the different ministries at different levels. Regarding the policy, the schools were engaged in informing how the policy was shaped, and we do continue to engage with the Ministry of Education at a number of different levels, the Volunteer Corps being one of the most prominent ones. In terms of the 8-year-old that she mentioned, I imagine that would have been through the boot camp with the youth organization that we connected her to, not necessarily in the school, but a community youth organization that serves young people. Don't know if you want to speak to them as well.
Yeah, so I did a boot camp with the Seventh-day Adventist Pathfinders.
Okay.
And we did a branding boot camp where they were producing some soaps and they were going to brand it and do logos, and, you know, I kind of based it all around storytelling, you know, so very interesting getting 8-year-olds to build their own brands. Yeah.
And they can, if provided the opportunity and the support.
Okay. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back on the other side, and we will continue this discussion. You, the public, you're free to give us a call if you have an input. 465-2555 is the local number. 718-577-2916 is that number out of North America, if that's easier for you. We will take a break. We'll come back on this other side and continue this discussion.
Daddy got some animals on here killing me. They was holding a tip out my yard. Can't even get food from my own garden. I'm trying to save to buy some fencing, but they're very expensive and the cheaper ones won't keep the donkeys out.
You haven't heard that we have our own fence manufacturers right here in the Federation, and their prices are better than any place else. JNF Fencing at Long Point. Joe bought heavy fence from them that's keeping out the big animals for the same price as other places sell that light, flimsy wire that animals just push down. Plus, they can make whatever height you want, 3 feet to 10 feet. And you know what? Buying stuff made right here keeps the money in the Federation and boosts the economy. And listen, JNF Fencing is offering special prices until March 31st, you know. So call them now. The number is easy to remember. 469-4692. You got it? 469-4692. JNF Fencing at Long Point, your local chain link manufacturer.
As part of its robust national vaccination education campaign, the Ministry of Health invites the general public to a number of important COVID-19 vaccination information sessions and clinics at the following locations. Please note, each session will begin at 6:30 in the evening. Newtown Community Center, Tuesday 30th March. Sandy Point Community Center, Wednesday 31st March. Tuesday 6th April, Tabernacle Community Center. Wednesday 7th April, Connery Community Center. Keys Community Center on Thursday 8th April. Edgar Gilbert Sporting Complex in Molyneux, Monday 12th April. Newton Ground Primary School, Tuesday 13th April. Wednesday 14th April, St. Peter's Community Center. Thursday 15th April, Deep Bay Primary School. Monday 19th April, Irishtown Community Center. This is a public service announcement from the Ministry of Health.
The pandemic is a wake-up call. Far too many Caribbean people are overweight, obese, or living with NCDs and are at higher risk of becoming very ill from COVID-19. In a time when things feel out of our control, we need the power of choice. Caribbean leaders can make a real difference by by introducing octagonal warning labels on the front of packaged products to help us identify which products are high in salt, fats, and sugars. Now more than ever, we need better labels, better choices, better health. This message is brought to you by the Pan American Health Organization, the Healthy Caribbean Coalition, the OECS Commission, and UNICEF. For more information, find us on Healthy Caribbean Coalition social media platforms.
Every Saturday from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. I Said Radio goes into overdrive with the Magic Fingers Ronnie Rascal Mega Mix Show. You heard? Up your dial to 96.1 FM. It's the show that brings the vibes to your Saturday afternoon wine, bar hopping, party hangouts, or just driving around. You don't want to miss the Saturday Mega Mix Show. You don't want to miss the Saturday Mega Mix Show. It's old school and new school remixes by yours truly, Magic Fingers, Ronnie Rascal, every Saturday from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. ZIZ Radio.
Welcome back to Frank and Candid. I am Tony Nass, and this morning I have in studio with me some guests, Mr. Pierre Liebert of Youth Empowerment, and Ms. Nadia Mills, who is creative director for food. What is that?
Food for Creative
Food
Souls.
for Creative Souls, right? And we're talking about all things youth and some of the things they're engaged in support and in guidance of our young people. Let's pick up on our conversation. There are quite a number of youth groups in St. Kitts that I know of. I don't know how many of those youth groups are aware of what you do. So, what can they do hearing this now? What can they do to benefit from what you're engaged in? So, share with us some of that, and so that they themselves could see a reason to get involved.
Well, register with the Department of Youth Empowerment and ensure that your information with the Department of Youth Empowerment is accurate and up to date. If you would have registered in 2016, you are not currently registered at the department. If you registered anytime prior to January 1st, 2021, you are not registered officially. We require that groups register every year to ensure that we could account for and assess their current condition every year. Just like how you have to renew your license, you have to renew your permits and so forth, renew or update your registration so that our databases could be complete and accurate.
I may register as a youth group, but just for the sake of registering. But what do I get? What is in it for me is if I register as a youth group, as opposed to not registering?
Well, for one, you get access to opportunities offered by the Department of Youth Empowerment and that come to the Department of Youth Empowerment via our various partners and stakeholders. You get preferred access to a number of our resources. We assist with access to other public resources so that you could further or more effectively execute your services and your engagement with the young people and the communities. We are required to verify youth organizations, so we will be in a position to do that.
Okay. That alone is good stuff. I mean, and we could be useful. We got a caller? Okay. The phone lines are open. What about training? Is there
Yes, so there is a lot of opportunities for training, some offered by the Department of Youth Empowerment, some that are not. And when we are approached by agencies, local, regional, or international, with an opportunity to train young persons, part of youth organizations, we should be in a position to say, this group exists, they could benefit from it. We wouldn't know that unless you're registered.
Okay. Let's take this call. Let's go to the caller. Good morning, caller. You're live.
Yes, greetings all.
Greetings.
You know, whilst we're talking all things youth, you know, we want to share something. Yeah, do you have any kind of thing in your flexing to mix youth with elders? You know, we think it would be a good thing, you know, to kind of balance the youth them.
Yes, we agree, and we would welcome any opportunity to engage with any organization who would want to partner with us to bring that to fruition. That has been an ongoing discussion and something that we know is needed. And I think it's also outlined in the policy as well.
Great. Apart from organization with adults, individual adults too, consider that also, you know. Keep them balanced. It's very important within the scheme of things.
All right.
Give thanks and all the best with your ongoing works, you know.
Which good, thanks. And which brings me, that caller brings me to the issue of the kind of support that you would welcome, whether it be in form of investors and mentors. I think this is where he was going. You know, so. Want to speak to that?
Yeah, so I know for Food for Creative Souls, partnerships is very important. I'm lucky that the Department of Youth is very supportive of the initiative, and I've also garnered the support of agencies in the U.S., such as 72 and Sunny. They've been amazing. The Executive Creative Director, Brian, and the Group Creative Director, Sharina, has volunteered to actually do another second boot camp with the students, which is a pretty huge opportunity. So all the opportunities is made possible through partnerships. And I'm looking forward to getting the whole community involved and all the businesses involved in really advancing the creative industry here in St. Kitts. What I would love to see is the development of a new main industry with the exporting of ideas. That's my ambitious plan, and I think it's very possible.
What you mentioned boot camp. What's the form? What format does it take? How long is it?
Right. So this last one was 8 weeks. It's very intense. The students have to learn a lot of programs in a short space of time. Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, Premiere.
That's like operate the cameras.
It's like cramming a whole lot of credits in 8 weeks. Huh?
It's a lot, but my format is where I give them an exercise that they're passionate about completing, and
heavily practical.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I encourage them to use the University of Google and the University of YouTube.
Okay.
I mean, we're only in class for a limited amount of time, you know, so I want to make sure that when they go home, they're actively learning. So I think my approach with giving them assignment that they're passionate about and wanting to complete, and them, you know, learning as they go on their own time to complete that project, that has been successful, at least from what I've seen.
It is as part of this exercise, does it involve training in how to attract business or opportunities?
How to attract
or is that because there's, you know, once you have learned this skill, once you have this skill, you're gonna have to persuade somebody to that you're good, that you can, that they're gonna use your services.
Right.
So there's, and that could be daunting. I've been in sales and marketing, and sometimes that's one of the toughest things, to persuade people to use your service and products. So.
Well, one thing that we'd have touched on the bootcamp is strategy, right? We would have had several mentors that have spoken to the students about the importance of strategy, knowing what your goal is, studying your target audience, and knowing how to target them. You know, and targeting them emotionally too, because that's pretty big. Emotions drive behavior.
Right.
So there's a psychology to it, and the students have been learning that psychology, which to them it's the most fascinating thing. You know, because we really don't think about it that way. We talked a lot about insights, which is like the golden nuggets of the advertising industry, right? Like, you have to understand how to find these insights and how to build on them, you know, and the students, I'm trying to get them to master that. And I think once they start doing more work with different agencies, like 72 and Sunny, this upcoming boot camp with them, I'm hoping that it would certify the students as, you know, capable of executing high-level ideas for the brands and the companies here in St. Kitts.
And the proof is in the pudding, you know. And in short time, the public will have some pudding to consume, because the young persons would have been heavily involved in producing some campaigns, and I think they still have a few tweaks to do, and you will be seeing it for the public to consume. In fact, they've already pushed out 1 or 2 pieces that has had wide viewing.
Okay.
And if Ms. Mills want to talk about that piece.
Yeah, so the students, it keeps giving me a hard time because I call them kids, but they're not.
Okay.
But the students, yeah, like I said, I had this theory that the students are naturally strategic. You know, they know how to make connections.
Okay.
Or, you know, and so one student, they did a piece around influencers, identifying popular statements in the community and kind of doing a design around what was said and who was saying it. So she did a poster with Elvis Manners. She photographed the gentleman, designed a poster, and it looks professional. It looks great. And with his popular phrase, don't forget to wash all your hands, you know, and don't let nobody coughing on your face. She also even went as far as to identify a unique influencer, which is the oldest person on St. Kitts, and have them do a poster about how to wear a mask. So essentially the message that she's trying to get across is when we are protecting ourselves, is protecting our country's treasures, which is, you know, Miss Una Deporte is a very popular person in the island just because of her age, you know. So very clever, very strategic, very smart ideas.
All right, so if I am a person who can invest in this or would like to be a part of this, as the caller said, as maybe a mentor, investor, what would be my first move? What do I do?
Contact the Department of Youth Empowerment.
Youth Empowerment.
I also have a web page that's up if they want to learn more about Food for Creative Souls. Yeah, it's foodforcreativesouls.com.
Okay. And on that, they can make contact with you, and then you'll follow up from there as to.
And yeah, we mentioned that persons who want to contribute as well. There are a lot of facilitators from the local scene, local creative industries, that I think that we should acknowledge and express our appreciation to. But yeah, there are persons in the photography, video editing, and interview field that came and shared their knowledge with the young persons.
Okay. All right, let's take this call. Caller, good morning. Welcome to Frank and Candid.
Good morning to you and your guest.
Hey, good morning.
Yes, as I heard someone calling about putting the youth and the older folks together so that they can learn, and it should be from each other really, but more importantly so that the youth can learn. It just occurred to me that while there has always been a so-called generation gap, it seems to be getting larger, I think mainly because of technology, right? Where the young people now are more technologically savvy and therefore have more access to information. Okay, once ago, you were pretty sure that the older folks knew more than the younger ones, and now that is not necessarily so.
Right.
Okay, so I'd like to know how they would deal with something like that. And I know that generally speaking, we talk of youth and youth department being associated with government. It's a government ministry or entity. Okay? How do they feel about making it more of a non-governmental organization, bringing all the youth groups, different youth groups, and dealing with all the youth issues devoid of government?
Will it be funded by private as well?
Well, it doesn't have to be. It can be. The funding can be both.
Okay.
There's no reason why it can't be both.
Okay.
But just so as to make it more inclusive, less, environment around here, less political, and I think it would attract more respect and more funding from international organizations who generally look at the NGOs as the way to go.
Okay.
Okay then.
All right. I don't know if that's within your pay grade, but go ahead.
Okay. He presented two streams of thought. With regards to intergenerational communication exchanges and so forth, we support that. The policy speaks to it being necessary, and we continue to welcome any partnerships that are possible to continue to facilitate that. Through our engagement and our training of young persons, we do bring in older persons with expertise in various backgrounds to exchange with the young persons.
Okay.
As well, but again, we continue to pursue opportunities, but we prefer to deal with organized institutions as opposed to individuals per se, because that allows for greater accountability, greater sustainability, and so forth. So we encourage the development of organizations and partnerships between organizations, ours being one. With regards to getting the youth organizations together and being a non-governmental organization, I think in my mind what you're describing is a youth council. And we have for some times emphasized the importance and the significance of that sort of body. The policy also speaks to it being necessary. And that is something that we are wholeheartedly in support of. But in order for us to get to an established youth council, the youth organizations have to be strong, functional, effective, have good governance and accountability structures, and are sustained. And in order for us to get to that point where they could say, okay, we're in a position of strength, we represent such and such amount of young persons, let's, as individual organizations, as groupings of organizations, let us come together and form a national body to represent young people at a non-governmental level that could coordinate with and partner with and get the support of government and the Department of Youth Empowerment. We wholeheartedly support.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the idea of a youth council was started off and tried somewhere. I think it was back in the 80s or somewhere, but
a few times.
Yeah, but don't know what happened.
Yeah, and it has to come from the grassroots. Government could support it, encourage it, and so forth, but government can't establish it.
Right.
It should not establish it. In order for us to ensure that it is functional and effective and respects youth work and youth development, has to come from the grassroots. So, what we have been doing is offering the capacity development supports for the youth organizations, starting with the registration process, so that we could identify the youth organizations, identify where they are, what their interests, their strengths, their weaknesses, their concerns, what their gaps are, so that we could structure our responses to help to fill in that gaps and build out their governance and accountability structures, and connect them to opportunities so that in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years, they are stronger, more sustainable organizations that could more effectively address the concerns and needs of the young people and the communities and come together in a larger body. We have ongoing training at the Department of Youth Empowerment designed to build out the capacities of the groups in organization, the structures, the financing, management, managing resources, securing resources, financial accounting, record keeping, and a whole host of different competencies, safety and security, disaster preparedness, first aid and CPR certification. We offer all of that training throughout the year. And we encourage groups, persons who are interested in forming groups, to register with us and take part in those trainings to build out your capacity. And at the end of it, long term, hopefully short term, secure counsel.
I want to get back to that, dig into that registration for just a minute, because we mentioned it a few times. A group wanting to register, are there certain things they have to have or have to do? Are there requirements before a club can register with your office, like number of people, any of those things that?
At least 5 persons.
Club must have at least 5 persons.
At least 5 persons.
Right?
And there are different tiers of groups, from 5 being just started. You're less than 2 years old. You have at least 5 persons. We encourage you to have an elect.
You have to have a constitution.
We would imagine that a group that just starting, 5 people, just coalescing around an idea and some objectives, something that they want to accomplish, may not have a constitution.
Okay.
So, but we encourage you to register still, and so we know this is the position that you're in. There's 5 groups in this area at this level in this state.
Okay.
So we could tailor some supports for for those groups to help them move to the next level, which should be at least, I think, 5 years old. At that point, we expect you to have a constitution, a vision, mission, and so forth.
Right.
And certain engagements in your community, your bank account, and so forth.
Right.
And the sort of work that you're doing. And
meet a certain amount of time.
Right. All of that. And it's laid out in our standards that we could probably share. But in addition to that, in order to get them to move from one level to another, in the absence of a comprehensive view of what the gaps are, we are offering training that young persons should access at the Department of Youth Empowerment. So access those training and be a part of them, because at the end of the year, when all of the training is done, we have a record of who completed the training, what groups and so forth, did the monitoring and evaluation, did the financial accounting and record keeping training. When you re-register in January and you get your certificate after our assessment, your certificate would say that your group has the competencies.
Okay.
Or not.
Right.
So it's not just you register and you get a certificate. So National Bank and Development Bank and TDC should support you.
Registration to acceptance is how long, general?
2 weeks, so that we could do a proper assessment.
Okay. All right.
And match against our records.
So I wanted to touch on the caller's first question about the disconnect between the youth and the elders in the community. He's very right. It all has to do with technology. The students are the youth here are being exposed to a lot of information. They are getting a lot of knowledge, and change is inevitable, right? And the question is, how comfortable are we as an island with change? You know, I'm going to put Pierre on the spot a little bit because I challenge him a lot. He educates me on the way the island is, and I tell him how the island could be, and the question that I would have asked myself is, how comfortable are we with moving into the future? Like, we love our culture, we take comfort in the things that we know, especially the elder community. But the young people, they have a lot of energy, they're ready to go somewhere, even though we're restricted by 68 square miles. They can go somewhere online, and they need persons that are supporting them and telling them, yes, your imagination, your idea is valid, take a leap of faith, go ahead and express yourself in this way. Instead of having fears about social media, like, there needs to be some education, essentially, right? And I think for me, learning how advertising agencies create the stuff that we see online and the ripple effect of it, I'm hoping that I could be a guide to navigate that area of change.
All right, our time is coming to a close, so let's take this opportunity for a wrap.
How did that happen?
Like I said, final thoughts before you go, Nadia? Anything you want to leave with the young people or the...
Yeah, so any persons that are interested in creative careers or want to learn more about navigating technology and social media, advertising, definitely reach out to myself and the youth department, foodforcreativesouls.com, on Instagram and Facebook as well. I'm also connecting really talented individuals to hopefully scholarship opportunities and mentors. So if you're creative, I'm here, I'm available, I'm giving away knowledge, so reach out to me.
All right.
Yeah.
Saliba?
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And just in the sense of encouraging our young persons to move forward, doubt is a major factor, yes. But doubt is also, could be also a tool to help you properly assess and make more informed decisions going forward. Use it in that way. Question whether or not you made the right decision or will be making the right decision, and think about it. Don't take too long, but make a decision. Move forward. Don't use doubt as a stopping point or a stumbling block or something to say, I'm doubtful, I'm not going any further. Don't do that to yourself.
Okay. Well said. And that's Mr. Pierre Leiber, Director of Youths on St. Kitts, along with Nadia Mills, Director of Food for Creative Souls. We want to thank them for joining us today. Hope you got some information that you can use. I'm sure you did. And we want to thank you for joining us on Frank and Candid today. Tomorrow we'll be back, and if that is to be. I'm Tony Nass. We'll talk again on the next Frank and Candid.
I think like
Candid Radio, entertaining the nation, enjoyed by the world.